Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Written Wednesday. I am wound up on energy drink, so let's get writing. I'm excited. You're probably excited. If not, my powers of denial are stronger than anything. I shall overcome and imagine that this is a popular show. Thank you very much for coming. We are joined by Ray, who I have been admittedly pouring all of my writing energy into because the roleplay we're doing back and forth set in another one of my IPs that I will introduce you to at some point eventually. And I've not been putting really anything into Infinity Quest for the week. I've just sort of been like flexing that good old creative muscle, that small victory experience I have addressed in a couple streams. This has been a very liberating experience to just get through and feel that momentum of good writing and just plowing through something. Like, in the span of a couple, like, what was it, like 2 weeks, we've got like 200 pages. It's amazing. And not to give unequal amounts of time to the other guest in the stream so far, we have Frisky Boy. And Frisky Boy, I do believe, is our good friend, the Soap Mage, who has indeed helped me scrub away all the technical difficulties of getting my OBS to capture the Picarto chat section. For a minute there, I sounded like I was from Minnesota. We got the chart over there. Alright, now let's scroll down here and see if we can't get some writing done. While at the same time also thinking about what to want to write back in the other IP I've been doing with Ray. With Ray's permission, at some point we might go through and read over that, and I might do a little bit of a live session of writing with a friend, because role-playing is an experience that you shouldn't underestimate as a writer, because dynamically putting together world building in a universe with someone who might derail a plot line you have or might try something different and forces you to adapt to it is a really good exercise, and it's just invigorating to see all those pages come together. Even though it's not you writing it all by yourself, it is something to want to latch onto and a victory to want to cherish. It is a good experience and has been A-OK good news to me. Oh! Wistalia. That name feels familiar, but I'm not entirely sure who that is. So anyway, thank you very much for joining. We now have Jacob and... Okay, well, Jacob exploded. We have Ray, Frisky Boy, and Jacob, and Wistalia. And where we last left off, the Infinity Drive was running amok through the halls of the Defender. I'm just going to... throw this link out a few other places. Well, hello to you, Wistalia. That is not what I wanted to click. Let me see here. Skype. If I've set this up right, you're not seeing this. And if I haven't, I hope you enjoy seeing all the people I say hi to. Alright, there we go. So, I thought we'd sort of take a page out of last stream's book, in which we talked about René Descartes' personal philosophy. My dad had also written down someone else, who is a Prussian philosopher, born April 2nd, 1724, and died February 12th, 1804. His name was Immanuel Kant, a philosopher from the Age of Enlightenment, and he actually ties back to René, in that, if I recall correctly, he was, influenced by Aristotle and René Descartes and Plato, as well as more. And a personal quote here from him is, "There are many things that I believe that I shall never say, but I shall never say the things that I do not believe," which speaks of integrity. And I can kind of tie this back. Watch, this is going to be some great somersaulting logic here in a lot of today's media. And this is something that Jacob has confirmed with me on many of time, like a myriad of different times, in which people, especially the new Star Wars guys, where they just like somehow comes back, somehow does this. How could you expect us to write a new movie? There's no source material for this effort. Or just the endless drove of sequels and subpar content that just parade in rank and file through the same tired plot lines, the same 3 to 4 arc structure, and just are ultimately forgettable in the grand scheme of things. It feels like there's a lack of not only integrity, but substance. It's a bunch of voices trying to say more corporate... I hate these dramatic Shatner-esque pauses, but forgive me, my brain's hitting a buffering wheel. But these corporate boardroom people who don't know the first thing about writing, who insist on directing the creative flow of would-be directors, or these directors who just show up looking to make a paycheck. There's no integrity. There's no one saying what they believe, only what they believe people want, what people want to hear. And I think that's something important writing. And another thing I will tie back to Jacob is a point we both agree on, that any setting should be a character in and of itself, which is to say it should have its own motivation, its own depth, its own history. Because I've seen a lot of writing will really only give you a light flavor text for what the setting is. There's no gravity, there's no history, there's no direct influence on the people within the setting. It's just, these are people, identify with them because they're just like you, and this is setting, but you can forget about that now because we're moving on. And I've seen it happen a lot with a lot of the things he writes and puts out for people to want to review, in that the people who often review it, who have any form of professional connection or purport themselves to be an expert in any one thing, usually judge the characters very flatly based on everything around them. And it's topical level writing like that which I think undercuts a great piece of literature, or a great comic, or a great drawing, or a great whatever you want to create that produces a story. When the setting itself is just there to be a setting, to just exist, to be a backdrop, to be scenery, I feel like you do yourself a disservice by making any unique aspect these people could have, any unique mindset, any potential you could use to distance them from just people, from just topical writing, from just, these are your normal average Joe people in this setting that are just reacting this way to this setting because. It robs a certain level of depth that really helps suspend the disbelief of a reader. And the more you can do to make that setting stand out and to really flavor the people, to really flavor the experience, the logic, the history there, the better your work will ultimately be. For example, I can point out another one, and this one has a bit of off-color humor, so forgive me here if it gets a little raunchy in spots. But The Out of Placers by Val Salia, or Salvalia, depending on what website he's on, is a great example of these people who are affected very much by the setting, and the setting itself has a lot of character and a lot of history and a lot of lineage that helps engage you, because not only are you focused on the reaction of these characters or whoever might be a main character, you're also curious about the setting, about what's going on here, about how it's affecting the people, how it's made these societies, why there's giant cattle bugs, how it all works. And the more you can do to strengthen your writing in little ways to make it easier to suspend your disbelief, to make the whole thing interesting, not just relying on the strength of how well you can write characters, or the best drama you can put together, the best love triangle, or the best parade of suffering you can put the characters through to try and endear them onto a reader, the more likely it is you're going to have an IP or a project that just takes off and rockets to the sky. And speaking of Valsalia and Yinglets, we just so happen to have our favorite little matron from the Valsalian world, Sesra, the matriarch, in the chat. And I am very happy to have you again, Sesra. It's been far too long. In fact, I believe the last time you were in the chat, we were speaking weird Spabascone spooties forwards and backwards and trying to summon some sort of horrible eldritch Cthulian beast into the chat. Now I'm trying to think on who in the world Wistalia is. Because I'm flattered to have had a new person pop in here. It warms it warms my heart. And yes, it does sound very familiar. In fact, I almost got the feeling that it might have been a certain creator from... today I have come into the chat to hear people speaking of people flavor. Yes, indeed. We're like the Soylent Green of the Picardo chats. We're like to serve man. Except for our books are narrative-driven pieces and not cookbooks, because apparently people don't like discovering that it's actually a cookbook. So I'm probably just going to kill this yet and see what kind of writing I can put into this. I just read a little bit of your reply and LOL, Alice is too cute. I'm really glad she's endearing herself to you, especially with how sad I intend to make her character overall. But this goes back to the setting in the world, building up the world and the character, and the dynamic process of just role-playing or just trying to get in writing wherever you can. Because again, the energy, the momentum I have created between... Well, not just me. Okay, let me rephrase that. That hit my ear wrong. The momentum we've created, role-playing this back and forth, and just back and forth passing the ball with this narration and story and introducing these characters and just building them for my IP Will to Survive has been an absolute delight. I love Ray's character Varen, and mark my words, one of these days I'm going to get that RP here in the stream, and we're going to both be on call, and we're going to read it, and we're going to have a high old time, and I'm just going to spend like 3 hours role-playing live with Ray. But I really do want to show that off at some point, because that is just going to be fantastical. Excuse me. And it helps, especially when you're trying to be a very visual kind of narrator, because I know in my head what I want the world to look like, or how I want it to feel, or how I want it to come across, and I have to convey that to another person. Now granted, I have been employing the awesome power of MS Paint to map out the entire city of Condor from that, but it helps give me a basis. And I think maps and things like that, anything you can do, again, I probably say this 100 times every stream, but the more you can do to help yourself see it, the better it comes across when you're trying to write it, and the more you develop a setting, the more of a flavor you give, the more of a unique angle or slant you give your world that just wholly affects the way the people act and behave, the more solid of a universe it is, because it's not just, let's just take a scoop of people and a scoop of outside and put it together and take a little bit of terrible writing advice's idea and throw in an awkward love triangle. And then just boom, call that a book. The more you can do to actually build something that has its own rules and its own distinct identity, the easier it's going to be to read, the easier it's going to be to write, and ultimately the more memorable I think the piece is going to be. So again, practice, practice, practice wherever you can, whether it's writing something small and getting that quick victory, or recharging your sails by RPing with a good friend who's an amazing writer, who at some point you are going to drag kicking and screaming into a stream to share a reading of a role play that's over 200 pages long. You know, it's just whatever, you know, the normal thing. And the more you can do to practice, and the more short victories or just that quick response you get, the better you feel about yourself, the easier it is to write, and the more you get practice in trying to zero in your voice. Right? Yes, take the advice of Ling Ling. When it comes to musical practice, just transpose that mentality into writing. Practice 40 hours every day. What was it they were telling you in medical school? If you're getting over 4 hours of sleep, you're not doing enough work. That's ridiculous. By the way, just to throw that out there, disclaimer: sleep. You will thank me. I know I've touched this a couple of times, and Character Consultancy has mentioned this on her Twitter and social media, where she's posed the question, what works better? The dedicated the dedicated something, or the passive elephant technique, where you just go full devotion onto the book until you set on fire, crash, and burn, and you use your perseverance to like tackle and battle your way through a project, or if you just sort of take a more relaxed approach and work on it when you want to. With all things, there's a balance to be had, because again, I find there is a certain nobility to standing with your nose to the grindstone and just pressing through writer's block, but sometimes that doesn't always work. You're not always the hardest thing in the room, and if you just keep throwing yourself at something, eventually you're going to find something harder than you are, and you're going to shatter off of it, and it's just going to completely drop all of that momentum, all of that energy out of you, and you're not going to want to write anymore. It's going to be much worse than a writer's block, because then there's the bitter pang of failure. There's this resentment towards your own work that can pop up. And I think it's good to balance out a soft approach without becoming lazy, and also finding the right moment to try and push through and force yourself and balance everything. Yes, I know, the momentum. We're going to have a talk here. I know what you're referencing, but I don't know how comfortable you are talking about your content and your IPs before you do all the stuff you want to do with them in stream that is ultimately going to go to YouTube, because I ain't editing 3 hours of footage. Do you know how long I'd be sitting at my computer waiting for that crap to process? I'd be 60 by the time it was done. So again, safe than sorry. I know what you're referencing. Your species are awesome. That's funny. You have robbed me of the word momentum or inertia. But I can't broach the topic until you give me... Oh, don't even start with the uwu speak. That meme died in 2019. Please let it go. Also another meme that died in 2019. Let it go. Let it go. I ain't trying to read that stuff. I'm just immensely draining all the fluids in my area. And I think this stream right now is one of the instances of trying to battle your way through a writer's block, because honestly, I really try to fight my way through Infinity Quest because I wanted to have this done last year at December, and it always seems like I end up just free falling and blasting through every deadline I try and set for myself. I'm not that far away from being done here. But there comes a point, and I think I've done this with mine, so learn from my mistake and my example here. If you throw yourself at something too much and you make it too much of a fight and too much of a battle with your IP, and not knowing when to break and take the mental health time, you end up resenting the work to a certain degree, or at least the process of writing it. I can hit a good swing and whee, go flying through it and everything works fine. But then there's also that lingering sting, that bitter memory of how hard you pushed through it and how hard you had to fight for it, and all the times where you've just been at a writer's block and like, I could be doing something else right now and I'm trying to battle through this. And no, Ray, quite the opposite. You have been a huge help, because as I'm trying to... I want to try and put into words something that I don't know if I'm the right person to put it into words. Because I'm sure a lot of people have said this themselves and said it much better, but there's a certain level of consideration and mental health that a lot of creators don't consider, especially in this day and age when there's such competition across social media and it's so easy to get lost if you're not constantly producing. We are perhaps one of the busiest, most career-minded generations on the face of the planet, whether we know it or acknowledge it or not. We are constantly at a work terminal, whether we're at home or at work, and this is considered our fun and amusement, as well as our workstation. So already there, we're crossing a huge line of no-no, where you're mixing your work and your recreation all in one place. We constantly got to worry about the all-consuming ether of obscurity if we're not constantly look at me, I'm doing stuff, and maintaining like an audience or something. So there's a whole scene here for you be a workaholic or just perish in the ether, just vanish into nothingness. And that idea of like, I gotta be making money, I gotta keep going forward, I gotta really just push myself through all this, can set up a lot of things that ultimately I think hinder us creatively in the long run. And just taking the time to have a small victory, or just writing something for the fun of writing something, and reminding yourself that you enjoy this and this is fun, or that this isn't just a constant fight against time itself and something like a miserable experience that you just got to keep trotting through, is a huge breath of fresh air. There is no sin against taking a break, and something like what we're doing is just a fun exercise to get the creative juices flowing, because you'll get little milestones in your head like, oh, I want to get them to this scene, I want to introduce this character, or I have someone here to want to relate to, or to express these ideas with, or just explore a setting with, or rewrite something with, or at the very least it's something small to remind you that you can do this. So no, you have been helping far more than what I could ever express, because the RP, the Will to Survive stuff, rewriting that universe, that would be a project I'd leave on the back burner and probably forget. Because I just had a friend recently talk to me about an idea I wanted to do that I had completely forgotten about, with a starship and the crew of the Antelope. And it's like, oh, I forgot that, I gotta do all this. But being able to sit down and take something that old and work on it with someone and build off of them and just create feedback between the two of you, and to feel accomplished, is it's something very conducive to a good working environment. It's something conducive to a healthy state of mind, where you're reminding yourself that you can succeed, you can finish a project, you can reach an obtainable goal, and it just works fine. You're reminding yourself of something more than just the bitter struggle to try and stay that little bit more active in the face of an ever marching forward internet. Ooh, I lost connection. That's not good. OBS disconnected. Oh, don't, please, no, don't. Now, I really wonder why Picarto's been doing that no guests thing. I really wish I could put in guests. Alrighty, so let's see what we can do here. Oh, and a side note, I think a fun project I'd like to do with everybody one stream is just open up a new blank document, and just for the sake of a good healthy experience, or just achieving a small victory, just write a story based on you guys' feedback and input. The story, the plot, the characters, everything is from what I can extract from you guys, suggestions you guys do, or just what I can come up with off the cuff. And that's going to be hard since I roll my sleeves and thusly have no cups. Yet. But I'll be saving these bad boys for a rainy day. And we'll see what we can write together. Now, enough stalling. This isn't Soviet Russia. Let's get right into the writing. Unmistakable, not unmistakable. I love those moments of dyslexia where I get to record it on stream and I get to seem like I have an IQ of -foot. I love it. Oh, the stream of artworks. Well, one of these days I would like to stream artwork with you because I want to get more serious about doing digital artwork. Again, there's that level of the passive take your time approach and then the bloody devotion, cue the anime soundtrack of trying to actually get serious and learn something. So, it is for me to ask. Indeed, yeah, I know, because Yinglik can actually count with their prehensile feet. They have little hand feet, which are terrible to draw because it's just hands times stereo. But yeah, one of these days I would like to art stream with you. In the meantime, you have fun. It was great having you. I always enjoy our conversations and time together, just like the rest of you, Jacob and Ray and Frisk and all the other people who popped in, and someone who might have secretly been Val, who I just immensely gushed praise of Val towards. Trying to get back to the swing of drawing with everything that's happened. I've been so... yeah, no, I don't blame you. I do not blame you at all. That was just a firestorm of awful. Yes, would love to have... Oh, thank you! Oh, God, I would be an awful artist there because I am traditional in my artistry. But I do want to learn digital, and it would be an honor to work aside you. Even if it's only to serve as sort of like a comparison to say, hey, look how good this is. When you look at this guy... Yes, hugs tight to you. You have fun. Okay. Brain! Come on, buddy. I've given you like half a pot of coffee, half a pot of tea, and a rain energy drink. Let's do this. Hugs and tips off to the artworks. By the way you're spelling that, there's a band I really like called Kraftwerk. And the song The Robots is one I really love. I've listened to a few other ones, but I always come back to The Robots from Kraftwerk. You know the... My friend is trying to send me distractions. I'm trying to world build. Well, you know, as every good writer has once said, you know, who needs friends? Who needs to be social? I don't have writer's block. I just don't feel like writing sometimes. Oh, God. If I could put the essence of a man headfirst into a combination toilet blender, I think I'd have to resurrect Frank Herbert to want to do that with. I don't like him. I have many unresolved feelings. There, especially with the giant god worm. Sorry, that was internal bleeding and screaming all at once. I call it screaming. Oh, that's not my hip, by the way. Having an itch right on your upper lip, right below your nose, because if no one's looking right, this guy, oh, that guy's picking his nose. And there's been one gag of that has always amused the living hell out of me. It is, I don't know if anyone watched Seinfeld. That's what it was. Seinfeld, where he's in the car and he gets like an itch on his cheek and he's just there, like scratching, but he's to the side and all you see is like that, or he's just scratching his cheek, and some guy in another car pulls up and looks over to him and he's just like, and Jerry looks over, like just barely still doing his thing, he's like, hey, just waving at him the whole time, and it's just like, hey. Like, it is the most uncomfortable, awkward scene I have ever seen, and I adore it because it's hilarious. And that is like one of the one moments, aside from any time Kramer showed up, that I remember from Seinfeld. I know what I want to say here. I want to put the focus on Cairo keeping up with the Infinity Drive and not being distracted by what's going on while Tanner's like more tense in his chair. But I want to figure out how I want to word that. A question of all good writers: how do you word? Jacob says, "You know what? Music is inspiring me to write the Versians / forcing myself to write more on them." What is the song? What music is it that helps you there? Soviet marches and U.S. Oh, okay, and U.S. Armed Forces medleys, along with Prussians. Oh, well, I'm sure that Immanuel Kant would appreciate that. Scramble. Scramble. Why? Come on, brain. Enigma. Ooh, with such a unique nickname. That would almost have to be Katie. I have arrived, weary of body, yet sound of mind. Well, welcome, Katie. It's good to have you. We had 2 newbies tonight who stuck around for a little bit, and I felt very flattered. Oh, she's currently doing an art stream, so we're kind of muted, more or less. She was... I know what I want to convey here. Let's walk through it. Come on, brain. Let's do a reverse exercise here. I want to show a more personal side of her, at least in ego, that she's giving it all she's got. She's employing all of her abilities. Well, I'm sure she'll see that I acknowledged her presence nonetheless. Indeed. Maximum acknowledgement for Cesra. You know what? Plus 1 acknowledgement. There we go. We all acknowledge. We'll save for starters. I feel like I should have permanent buffs to experience accumulation and price checking. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. With the work you put in there, definitely. Alright, I want to run this empty can out of my room real quick and see if I can't recruit some of my maximum brain power here to finish out that sentence. Okay, so while I was out doing 17 consecutive laps around the house, I recalled a little something. I remember before I was armed with a paycheck of my own and the ability to just go buy soda whenever I wanted it, I used to save soda whenever my dad would buy me some. And I would put it aside in the fridge with the intent only to drink it when I had done a sufficient amount of typing. I had to earn it first. And I think that small victory, that framed it as I was getting rewarded for doing the work. And I think that might have created a more positive space to want to work with, a more invigorating atmosphere to want to write with. So, what I have done is I have gotten myself an oatmeal cookie, frosted, because I am not a heathen, and a strawberry fig Newton. I want to eat these. These look good. I am putting these here. And I am not going to touch them for the entire length of the stream unless I feel like I get some typing done that is worthy of reward. So, cookies, right there, the clear reward. The obstacle, right here, text. Let's see if that helps. The great motivator. Oh, God, yes. I love oatmeal as well, and something I don't see a lot of, nearly enough of at all, any of, here in Florida is King syrup. I remember getting King syrup all the time in Pennsylvania, and oh, so good. When the syrup is so thick that you could reach down, grab it, and kiss it, that's syrup. This milky, watery, runny, sludgy, kind of sweet water that you get, that ain't syrup. Real syrup should take about 45 minutes to pour its way down out of the container of syrup and should be able to hang there for days excuse me, before it reaches the pancakes. King syrup is so, you could reach up and cut it with a pair of scissors to help it speed down to your pancakes. It is good. And yeah, same here. Fig Newtons. I hate that they write the calories per 2 fig Newtons. I don't know one person who can just sit there and go, oh yes, delicious, and sustain themselves off of 2 fig Newtons. If you eat a fig Newton, you eat them by the sleeve, no exceptions. I know, who eats only 2? I have never met that one person who goes, oh God, those were so good, but two's enough. You're the kind of person who eats 1 potato chip and calls it done. Not even Kira could eat just 1 potato chip and call it done at that. He at least went through the whole bag and threw away an expensive portable television. I ate half a hamburger because of calories. Whatever those are. Yeah. Dieting. She was quickly rubbery fingers would join the battle. This machine is the same mother summoned greater and greater levels of pressure though I don't need though ever stoic, though stoic. No, though ever stoic. Though still stoic. Yeah. I'm not liking these sentences here. Join the battle against. All right, what do you think? What do you guys think of this? Attempt. Oh no, you didn't. Oh, brain. Oh, brain. Why? Oh, brain. No. Oh, Jesus. All right, let's try this again. Attempted Class 4 intrusion into local computer subsystems. I am eroding command lines to compensate. Further, there is an adaptive effort to scramble tracking attempts on the lift. Cairo reported as her cybernetic interfaces all rallied behind their new charge. Behind her efforts. Her rubbery fingers would join the battle against the machine as the cybermodder summoned greater and greater levels of her processing powers to her task. Though still stoic, Tanner would tell that her devotion to her post was unwavering. She would not hesitate to push herself to her maximum capabilities. Go Cairo, there, yes, indeed. Whether it was a sense of duty that drove her or her computer-like logic. Hang on, I can do that better. Whether it was a sense of duty that drove her, or computer-like logic. All right, I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself too much in this sentence, so I want you guys to be honest with me here, all right? I need you to be the critique gallery. Her rubbery fingers would join the battle against the machine as the cybermodder summoned greater and greater levels of her processing power to the task. Though still stoic, Tanner could tell that her devotion to her post was unwavering. She would not hesitate to push herself to her maximum capabilities, whether it was a sense of duty that drove her or a computer-like logic. Ooh, hang on. Always been the most ethical person he knew. Whatever was required of her, she would give without second thought. She'd been that way on the Moonstar as well, retaliating every action against her. In kind, with successive in kind. Further. Okay, I think I have it. Her rubbery fingers would join the battle against the machine as the cybermodder summoned greater and greater levels of her processing power to the task. Though still stoic, Tanner could tell that her devotion to her post was unwavering. She would not hesitate to push herself to her maximum capabilities. Whether it was a sense of duty that drove her or her computer-like logic, she had always been the most dependable person he knew. Whatever was required of her, she would give without a second thought. She'd been that way on the Moonstar as well, retaliating every action against her in kind. I feel like I should elaborate on that a little bit more. With the computer core of the Defender to augment her already enhanced brain, Tanner couldn't begin to imagine the processes per millisecond she was racing through. Okay. She'd been that way on the Moonstar as well, retaliating every action against her in kind as she would layer contingency after contingency against her opponent. That doesn't work right either. She'd been that way on the Moonstar too. I think be its own thing. She had been that way on the Moonstar too. As well, retaliating every action against her. Alright. She'd been that way on the Moonstar as well, retaliating every action against her, contingency after contingency, layer upon layer of backups for every one method that failed. With the computer core of the Defender to augment her already enhanced brain, Tanner couldn't begin to imagine the processes per millisecond she was racing through, all the ways she was analyzing the situation and attempting to address it. In that way, he felt wholly inept by comparison and had learned to trust in her fully. Almost. I almost got that. When she was... Okay, that's the wrong punctuation, I think. Tanner couldn't begin to imagine the processes per millisecond she was racing through. All the ways... Add to dictionary. Oh, what deck was that on? Let me look through here. Again, you guys can't see that because OBS is weird with tabs. I've opened up another thing. Oh, that'd be a Class C security alert. Okay. Let me see. Control F. Engine. Hello, buddy. Bobala. I'm typing. Words are supposed to be appearing in the screen. Not responding. Up, up. Okay, here we go. Down, 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 down to here. Alright. I have a bunch of information about the Defender's layout, and I really need to finish it up and just keep this open whenever I'm writing. Alright, deck 8. Engineering sector. No, engineering B deck. The engineering B deck sports the bottom floor of the primary engine room and is the primary work area of the ship. The waste disposal elevators, gravity lift systems that run throughout the Defender all empty off into the waste disposal and recycling center on this deck, as well as housing the main computer room. Okay, deck 8. Deck 8. Yes. Was it section 50? Let me see. Section... I use the word section too much. Oh, okay. Small. In section 47, the floor underneath the event surfaces, reveal coolant lines supplying the nectar. Oh, I like the way I worded that. That's nice. Coolant lines supplying their nectar through the area with the rounded forms of exhaust shuns behind them. Okay, so section 47. Section 47. Holy crap, it's going for the main computer core. Now, who do I want to give that line to? That's either going to be Tanner or I think one of the Ostergaards. But I know that definitely needs to be uttered. Who? Who do I want to give that to? Remember, Tubby, there's a cookie in it for you if you work right. You hear that, brain? Write me a good sentence and you might get to experience this cookie. Oh, don't do that to me, Spellcheck. She's a person. Jacob, I'm concerned by the emoji. Why have you added it? Ha! You remember incorrectly. Cairo is human, though heavily cybernetically augmented. I believe that is cookie worthy. One bite. Well. Let me see. Do we have any other words here? I feel like I use rapid too much too. It's like section. Brisk isn't something. Oh, apparently my chat is gradually turning into Daleks. Swiftly's good. Hurriedly's not bad. Briskly is pretty good. Not fastly. I'm... Immediately. You're doing too much too. OBS, would you please stop doing that? I want to be in communication with the people who are watching me. Thank you very much. Reconnect. Thank you. Promptly, I guess. Promptly. Sorry very much, Jacob. Alright, the intricate design of circuitry laid upon her forehead would begin to flash promptly. Lay your questions on me, and I will answer them as best I am able. And I appreciate that, Katie. You are a gift to the stream. Now, as I said, I believe I got that incorrect, and it was a Class C. I'm a former grammar thing I cannot say if I ever hope to monetize any of this. Security alert. Class C security alert. Security intrusion. Grammar drill sergeant. Yes, yes. That's what the saying is. Ooh, okay, need a word here. However, it appears to be learning from my counter-intrusion attempts as it is gradually leading my responses to outcomes that teach it. Yeah, no, what the Infinity Drive is doing is it's kind of learned enough in the, I guess, firewalls of the system itself, as well as Kairos attempts to circumvent it. It's teaching itself how the system works, and it's kind of leading them to teach it new words or the language of the computers itself. Yeah, monkey see, monkey do, kind of. Except for it's changing gradually who the monkey is. It's already developed an understanding. Oh yeah, no. Cairo is going all in. The blinking on her forehead is basically her going all out. She will blow a fuse before she lets this thing usher the crew of the Defender into that silent night. Efforts. Let's say efforts to choke out the bandwidth. Or crash the command paths. It's Alright, as the situation becomes more dire, more desperate, I think I shall end the stream here, happy with the amount of work I managed to do and where I'm taking the story, because there's only a few more events before I'm on to the next chapter, and I'm quite happy with this. So, To everyone who joined me, to everyone who's still with me, thank you very much. Keep a kind state of mind and remember to always pursue your dreams. You will only refine your craft and strengthen your sword the more effort you put into it. Thank you very much for making this, as always, a special Written Wednesday. Thank you very much, and goodbye.